continue now with our panel. All right, Amanda, so I'm listening to Ron here. So bottom line is, if it's a conservative in a stall in a bathroom and there's a little foot tapping coming on, that's a big deal. That's a referendum on conservatism and the Republican Party. Mark Foley, that is a referendum on all Republicans. But if it's a Democrat, if it's Bill Clinton, he shouldn't be impeached, even if he lies under oath. Do you see this double standard we're talking about?
Yeah, well, some people have arguably said that it was okay for Bill Clinton because they knew he was a dirty dog before he ever took office. But in the case of John Edwards, I think he should be held to the same standard because he adopted the conservative moral values and he campaigned on them. But there's one thing I do want to revisit in the timeline aspect of it, which I think you're very right to concentrate on. And that's that he said in that Nightline interview, he told his wife the affair was over in 2006 and that she was furious. Yeah. But those photos were taken at the last week of 2006. So is it likely that Elizabeth Edwards knew the affair went on, was furious, and then allowed this woman to be on a campaign plane with him? I think it just blows this whole story.
And there are also reports, the Inquirer, that has had it right up to this point, Chris, is pointing out that there were numerous liaisons at this hotel in Beverly Hills that went on much, much later. But there are other questions that may become a legal issue for him. Number one, did he really know about the hush money? Did he know about $15,000 being paid monthly? Did he know who paid for the expensive mansion she was living in Santa Barbara? And this woman who's not qualified to do these documentaries, was this a, job of silence?
Was paid over $100,000 to go shoot documentaries, which she'd never done before. I mean, really, the narcissism and hypocrisy that go into this are just remarkable. You look at one; he's running for president on moral values. His wife has been diagnosed with cancer, and yet this is a man that we're going to trust of leading the free world.
Not running for president.
Excuse me. Hang on a second.
Well, no, he's not now, but he was at the time, and he was considering it. And I think that's really the whole. Right. That's why this is an issue.
Let me go back to Ronald, because Ronald, I want to go back to this fundamental issue. I want to know. You got to explain this to me. I'm just not getting this. Explain to me. I'm just a regular guy, and I'm wondering if you can't keep the promise to your family, can't keep your promise to your wife, you're having an affair, you're lying about the affair repeatedly, why should the American people trust you when you say you're not going to lie to them? Why should we trust you?
Well, because I think that there's a question here. The question of trust goes to more than the personal responsibility between a man and his wife. I think that the right wing really has carried this whole question too far.
I agree with you, Ronald.
Looking into people's bedrooms, looking under their bedrooms, trying to find out whether or not that level of trust.
And by the way, that's a great
is the kind of trust that you use in the Oval Office.
That's a great question Sean asked. And so, Amanda, if that's true, you can't trust somebody who had an affair. How can we trust John McCain to be president of the United States since he cheated by his own admission on his first wife? He didn't keep his marital vows. He didn't keep his pledge to his first family.
30 years ago, after 5.5 years in a prisoner of war camp.
She has nothing to do with it. Amanda, so how do we trust John McCain to be president of the United States?
Well, that's an issue I think has been thoroughly vetted for many, many years now. And
he cheated on his wife, right?
And this is something
he cheated on his
John
wife, right?
Edwards is
after 5.5 years in a prisoner of war camp.
It has nothing to do with it. He cheated on
5.5 years after prisoner of war camp.
Should we lose the guess and you and I argue?
Yeah, I will.
It had nothing to do with it.
He cheated on it.
Excuse me, Sean. You've had your chance to speak. I'm up. John McCain cheated on his wife, Amanda. John McCain cheated on his wife, Chris. Why do you have a double standard? And John McCain's running for president. John Edwards is not.
He is. John Edwards is running for president now. He was doing it when he was having the affair. His wife had been diagnosed with cancer, Alan. I mean, if you can't see the difference between the two situations.
John McCain's wife was in a car accident, and he came back, and all of a sudden he decided he didn't love her anymore, and he saw another woman. And his timeline that he talked about in his book isn't vetted by the actual events of when he actually got a divorce. So why is there a double standard?
He stood up and he criticized Bill Clinton for his actions of Monica Lewinsky and called. I mean, John Edwards was one of the biggest critics of Bill Clinton.
John McCain's running for president. What about his affair?
And Bill Clinton or John Edwards was one of the biggest critics of Bill Clinton.
Will you admit that John McCain was wrong to have an affair? Can we trust him to run for presidency? He cheated on his wife?
Of course it is wrong to have an affair. There's no question about that.
So can we trust John McCain to take a vow of office?
Does it matter today? Can we assume that 30 years ago, I mean, look, Robert Byrd was a member of the Ku Klux Klan a certain amount of time ago.
After 5.5 years in a Vietnam camp getting beaten every day, there's a difference. 5.5 years after getting beaten every day.
So it's okay that he had an affair on his wife?
No, you know what? But there are circumstances you ought to consider.
That lets him off the hook.
Let's see how you act after you get beaten after 5.5 years.
In just a moment. Finally tonight, the London Daily Mail is reporting that actor George Clooney is now an unofficial advisor to presidential candidate Barack Obama. According to the paper, Clooney has been texting and emailing Obama weekly, often pushing a pro-Palestinian stance. However, a spokesman for the Obama campaign denies the relationship and tells FoxNews.com the article was, quote, an inaccurate report. While Clooney's role as advisor may not be for real, the campaign has confirmed he will host a fundraiser for the Illinois senator next month.
Can I explain something in the last segment?
Sure.
Senator McCain spent 5.5 years of his life for his country being tortured, beaten on a daily basis with broken bones and broken body, and the fact that
war hero.
Excuse me, the fact that they didn't break his spirit. If you can't see the difference between him and Mr. Two Americas in his 28,000 square foot mansion with his doing his hair, it's a $1,000 haircut.
Let me ask you a question.
Excuse me, if you don't see the difference, then I can't explain
Let me ask you a question. With all due respect, and I've never denounced John McCain for his service to his country. He's a true American hero. However, does that mean it's okay to have an affair when you come back from war?
But here's the difference. There are extenuating circumstances, and he is the first to admit that when he came back after 5.5 years of being tortured for his country, that he was not the person that he is now. It was 30 years ago. And for you to make the same with Mr. Haircut,
his being a war hero with cheating on his wife, I don't conflate the two. We thank you for watching Hannity and Colmes. Here's